Hey dudes, I've been thinking about our modern conveniences and technologies and whatnot, and how they affect us long term, mainly negatively. So, because as most technologies become advanced enough, they'll require less focus and skill to operate. They'll become more efficient. And eventually that can just become detrimental. Things like laziness and over-reliance and a lack of skill needed. Things like that, which become negative to the users after a certain point. So first off, there's cars. If you have a machine that can quickly take you from one place to another by just simply pushing your foot down on a pedal or moving a wheel, things like that, then it's pretty easy to want to use it. So first off, there's the laziness factor and becoming sedentary. Like cars, they're much more efficient and they have much less strain than, say, walking or riding a bike. So of course that incentivizes people to go into cars and use those rather than the other options I mentioned. So then that of course causes health issues mostly. That's the one of the main problems associated with cars. If people rely on them too much, then without any other form of exercise like they would get from walking somewhere or biking, then that will definitely lead to health problems. And not just the health problems, but also the over-reliance factor, especially here in the US, where I live. The infrastructure is very car-centric, so that further incentivizes people to want to ride cars and use them to go places, which will definitely further, like I said, create an over-reliance on cars, because it affects not just the user of the individual driving the car. It becomes less of a decision of their own will. Rather, it affects the entire community living in that car-focused area, and by extension, anyone who travels into that area. And then another technology which has caused issues within that realm because of its advancements and conveniences, AI. First off, there is a lot of laziness and less skill and over-reliance. Those definitely help contribute to this problem greatly. I've heard a lot of students using ChatGPT and other AI models to basically just do all of their work for them. And maybe even more than just their work, but any thinking in general. And I think that gets pretty iffy really, really quickly. If you have some AI do all of the thinking for you, not only does it make the person doing that dumber, but also if whoever is controlling the AI decides that they wanted to do bad things with it, then it could very quickly influence a lot of people. And yeah, overall it's just a terrible outcome, just relying too much on AI to do a bunch of thinking. Then on top of the laziness, over-reliance, and lack of skill that AI brings, there's also the social isolation factor. AI chatbots have become a really popular thing the past few years, and if you have an AI that's designed to appeal to you and want to talk to you, if it can do a lot of things that a regular person can't, like respond immediately and be able to be shaped to what you want it to be, of course that can cause huge problems, really, because if you have to choose between a regular person who can make mistakes and has flaws, doesn't know exactly what you want and things like that, someone that's real people are kind of hard to be honest to. Or you could choose the AI, which you can adjust to be however you want and will respond immediately, and other things like that. A lot of positives seemingly for the user. Then, of course, they choose the AI more likely. But then, there are good things about talking to real people, and talking to an AI will pretty much invalidate those. There's human contact, like being physically around other people, is very important. So AI just, it can't yet do that. You kind of just have to talk to it on the computer. There are no AI powered robots yet. So it definitely will cause issues with social isolation and loneliness, which it already has, and it's only seems to be getting worse. And there's not just those few like large things, the obvious ones, but there's also a bunch of smaller things like delivery apps or washing machines and things like that, which do like cause some of the problems, not as significantly and obviously as the others. They're not as talked about, but they definitely do cause people to become lazier and often over rely on them too much to the point where it becomes harmful. And there's all of these problems, and that wasn't even with me including the environmental impacts that a lot of these technologies have, like cars and their fuel emissions, and AI, which is uses up a lot of resources, and air conditioners like being left in landfills with harmful chemicals, uh, contributing to global warming and whatnot. Just a lot of technology which not only affects the user, but with these examples it also like shows that it affects people in general and the entire world to a certain extent. And then another small example is using GPS to navigate instead of learning to do that on your own. Like if you rely constantly on a GPS to help you get to places, then you would really never learn how to do it on your own. So then, if for some reason you ever just don't have it, or lose access to it, or it fails, or even it leads you to the wrong destination, then it's going to be much harder to actually go back or go where you want to go than if you had just spent some time learning to go yourself. So of course that is another technology which can harm the user if they rely too much on it. And then to add on to that, there's social media, which causes a bunch of problems in terms of social isolation, which is an entire other can of worms, which will be opened some other day. But basically, like with AI chatbots talking to people online, it's really not a replacement for actually talking to people in real life. So that does cause a lot of issues in terms of social situation and whatnot. And then there's also like just scrolling through apps. I've heard a lot about people talking about how scrolling seems to be kind of in effect a replacement for actual social interaction. I mean, I've never experienced it myself, but I do understand where that could come from. And while it does seem to be a momentarily satisfying way to get social validation in terms of like within your brain, long term it is very harmful because it's not real connection and interaction, which will definitely cause a lot of problems down the line. And so I would like to note that I'm not saying that these technologies and advancements are bad or anything, because I do feel that they've caused a lot of advancements and improvements in quality of life for people as a whole. And not just quality of life, but in all aspects of living, they have generally improved a lot. But of course, I do think that relying on them too much and using them to the point where you don't really know how to do things without them, that's definitely a bad thing. And like with most things, I guess moderation is key, and there's a certain limit that you should set when using these things, because of course you should try to be healthy and not rely too much on these things. And I'd say that's about it for today's video. Okay, have a good day and have a good night. Okay, bye.